the box office projections have done something very interesting over the past week, which might explain why they released that news about Nick Cage. When the first box office projections came out, it was sitting there and projected to make $120 to $140 million its opening weekend, which certainly isn't like Marvel big MCU numbers, but for the DCEU, those are big numbers. We haven't seen an opening like that since Batman v Superman. That's the best since 2016. Not a lot of these things go to over 100 million. But something has changed apparently within the last week, because despite those numbers before, 120 to 140 million that we were hearing, all of a sudden yesterday we started to get different news. Ezra Miller's The Flash and Pixar's Elemental encounter box office headwinds. Early tracking now shows The Flash opening to a soft 70 million. Another site with The Wrap, The Flash clocked 75 million early box office projected launch in early projections. Early box office projections suggest The Flash may be racing toward a modest opening weekend. That is a very different story for this movie. That would put it very close to the opening weekend of Black Adam. $67 million opening weekend for Black Adam. That's what you're now looking at. That would be a nightmare. That would be worst case scenario for this movie. And it's very weird that there's been so much positive word of mouth, yet now the box office is tracking the wrong way for this movie. It could certainly change, but right now that's what all the trades are running with, this $70 to $75 million opening weekend.
I don't know, man. DC has not, outside of the Nolan trilogy, DC has not shown any real consistency to pull, billion-dollar box office. I think Aquaman did it. Aquaman's the only one outside of the Nolan trilogy, right?
Aquaman is the only, DC EU movie to break $1 billion at the box office. And when you do look at these numbers, so you can look at it two ways, right? Aquaman had an opening weekend of $67 million. Granted, it did really well internationally, and it had legs and legs and legs. But no one was highly anticipating the release of Aquaman.
No.
The Flash is billed as that. The Flash is billed all these member berries. Oh, this last thing before James Gunn's DCEU. Michael Keaton's fucking Batman's returning. All these things. So that's why people are looking at the $67 million opening for Black Adam as a little bit more of an indicator of why DC should be worried if these numbers hold. Now, things can definitely change between now and June 16th. There's a lot of movies that are coming out this summer. It's a really clogged box office stage right now and set to be all through June. But holy shit, for it to drop from those early projections to now this big, potentially big drop to 70 or 75 million, that would be kind of disastrous.
That is going to be a problem. And again, I think it's an Ezra Miller problem, along with a lot of I think there's a lot of problem with the DCEU, but specific to this movie right here, I think that Ezra Miller is the biggest problem with this movie right now. And they are trying very, very hard to make you think that this is more so a Batman-centric movie with the marketing. And that's not really what it is.